Okay, so you know that classic image we all have of the workplace. Rows of desks, people
Yeah.
bustling
Yeah, the
around.
little 9 to 5 grind, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it feels like that image is becoming more and more outdated almost by the day. We're seeing AI agents, robots, all kinds of automation moving way beyond just simple tasks. They're starting to become genuine teammates, like actual collaborators. And people are starting to call this new reality the hybrid workforce.
And this whole idea of a hybrid workforce,
Hmm?
it's full of potential, like huge potential, but it also brings up so many questions about leadership and management. Like, how do we actually lead a team when some of your team members are super advanced AI?
Mm.
It's not like managing a traditional team at all.
It really isn't. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. All the challenges and opportunities that come with managing this new kind of workforce. To really get a handle on this, we've gathered a ton of information, a really broad range of sources. We've got articles from Prezi, those presentation folks, insights from Amazon on the ground level view, from digitalization world, the big picture from social science space, the financial side from Investopedia.
It's interesting to see how many different angles there are on this.
Yeah, totally. And then we've got cybersecurity concerns from Kaspersky, obviously a huge issue, educational angles from American Public University, super interesting practical solutions from Microsoft Q&A and staff management SMX.
Okay, so we're getting like the full spectrum here, the theoretical and the really practical.
Exactly. And then there's also industry-specific analyses from AEM and Avon Saber, big overview PDF titled Managing AI Agents and Robotic Workers, Future of Work.pdf. We've also got insights from Mass Robotics and VentureBeat. Those are on the cutting edge of this stuff. I'll look at the whole prompt injection issue data on robot downtime rates from patent PC discussions about AI kill switches, the ins and outs of multi-vendor robotics management.
It feels like we really covered all our bases.
And to round it out, we've got expert commentary from Gene CM on the whole rise of the hybrid workforce thing, and even some info about how startups are taking the lead in fighting prompt injection. Okay, so basically our mission today is to break this all down. We're going to go through all this information, pull out the most important parts, and figure out how we can not only integrate AI and robots into our organization successfully, but also do it in a way that is totally safe and responsible.
Yeah, because the safety aspect is huge. It's not just about efficiency. It's about making sure things don't go haywire.
Exactly. We'll be looking at everything from team design and potential pitfalls to the practical solutions you can actually put in place. So I guess the best place to start is with the big picture, right? This whole idea of the hybrid team is the foundation of everything.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating is how fast this integration is supposed to happen. Some experts are predicting that by like 2030, AI agents won't just be tools we use. They'll be like full-fledged team members coordinating with humans and other AIs to get stuff done.
That's mind-blowing when you think about it. It's not just automation anymore. It's like a whole new kind of colleague.
And it really makes you question a lot of traditional ideas about work. Like, how do you even measure team performance when some of the team isn't motivated by the same things humans are? Does the whole hierarchy of a company change? Lots of big questions.
Huge questions. And it's not just some far-off futuristic thing either. We're already starting to see the beginnings of this shift. There are experts saying that AI agents will basically become digital employees, like literally showing up on org charts alongside their human coworkers.
Wow, that's wild.
Totally. Imagine getting a new job and your welcome package includes an AI assistant that's also listed in the company directory. And get this, the CEO of NVIDIA actually said that IT departments might end up becoming like the HR departments for AI agents.
Yeah.
So think about what that means for traditional HR roles, recruiting, training, performance reviews.
Yeah, it's a whole new ball game. Even onboarding would be different when you're onboarding an AI.
It's a complete paradigm shift. And this brings up a really important point. Dealing with this new kind of workforce isn't something one department can handle on its own. It's got to be a team effort, a truly cross-functional approach involving everyone from HR and IT to the actual business units that are using the technology. Even legal teams need to be in the loop thinking about data privacy, compliance, ethical stuff.
Makes sense. It's way too complex for any single department to handle alone.
Exactly. And this idea of creating AI centers of excellence is starting to gain traction. The idea is to bring all these different stakeholders together in one place so they can work together effectively on all the challenges that come with managing AI and robots.
Smart. A centralized hub for all things AI.
So we've established that the hybrid team isn't just some sci-fi concept. It's happening, and it's happening fast. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of how these teams are going to actually work. How do you even begin to design a team when some of the members might be made of silicon?
That's the million-dollar question. And it all starts with figuring out how to divide the work, what tasks should humans do, and what tasks should be handled by AI. There's some good research suggesting that we think about it in terms of these four principles: addition, substitution, diversity, and explanation.
Okay, break those down for me. What do those actually mean in practice?
Sure. So addition means using AI to make humans better at what they already do to augment their skills. Substitution is pretty straightforward. It's about having AI completely take over tasks that are really repetitive or boring for humans. Diversity is all about combining the different strengths of humans and AI to create a more well-rounded team. And explanation is about making sure the AI can clearly explain its decisions and actions so humans can understand what's going on.
Gotcha. So it's not just about throwing AI at every problem. It's about being strategic and understanding what each side brings to the table.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that AI and humans have very different strengths. Like AI is amazing at recognizing patterns, dealing with huge amounts of data, and doing those tedious, repetitive tasks that humans often mess up. We even saw some sources talking about how this kind of busy work can take up over half of a knowledge worker's time. That's a ton of potential time that could be freed up.
Yeah, that's huge. If AI can take over those tasks, it could free up humans to focus on the bigger picture things, the stuff that requires creativity and critical thinking.
Totally. And that's where humans really shine. Things like leadership empathy in tricky situations, that kind of out-of-the-box thinking that goes beyond what you can program, and being able to adapt to unexpected situations. When it comes to integration, a phased approach seems to make the most sense. First, we lay the groundwork, figure out the roles of humans and AI, define how they'll communicate and train everyone on how to work with AI tools. Then we start incorporating AI into everyday operations, get feedback from people, and make adjustments as we go. Finally, we optimize the whole human-AI collaboration across the entire organization.
Okay, so a nice gradual rollout, that makes sense. But it makes you realize that we can't just blindly implement AI and robots everywhere. Even Elon Musk had to admit that Tesla went too far with automation at one point. He said it was a mistake and that humans are actually underrated. That's a pretty big wake-up call coming from someone like him.
Right. It shows that even the biggest tech enthusiasts are realizing that there needs to be a balance. It's not about replacing humans. It's about finding ways to make them more effective and successful. This whole idea of AI middle managers is pretty interesting. Basically, it's software that oversees other AI agents.
So AI bosses managing other AIs?
Exactly. But even in that scenario, the principle should always be that humans are the ones making the big strategic decisions. AI is a tool, a very powerful tool, but it's still just a tool.
Okay, so we've talked about team design defining roles, recognizing the importance of human oversight. But what about the human side of this whole thing? How does introducing non-human entities into the workplace affect things like organizational behavior and company culture?
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting. We need to completely rethink how we approach organizational behavior to include these non-human team members. And one of the biggest things is trust. Human employees need to be able to trust that their AI colleagues are reliable, consistent, and programmed to act ethically.
That makes sense. But what about the AI trusting humans?
It's a two-way street for sure. The AI doesn't experience trust in the same way we do, but it needs to be programmed to rely on the information it gets from humans.
So it's not just about the AI doing what it's supposed to do. It's also about humans having confidence in it and the AI having confidence in the information it receives from humans.
Right. And there's a lot of research on human-robot interaction that shows how important a robot's social cues are, the way it communicates its intentions, how it responds to commands. All of that really affects how well humans accept it.
So we're holding these robots to human social standards, even though they're machines.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
And that's why you see a lot of collaborative robots. Those are the ones that work closely with humans, being designed with very human-friendly features, like they might have lights or even synthesized speech to let humans know what they're doing.
So it's almost like giving them a personality to make them less intimidating.
In a way, yeah. And transparency is super important too. Just like we expect honesty and open communication from our human coworkers, AI systems need to be transparent about their actions and why they're doing what they're doing. If you have an AI-powered recruitment system, it should be able to explain why it rejected someone's resume.
Yeah, you can't have an AI making decisions without any accountability. But it's interesting. You also hear stories about workers giving robots nicknames, developing friendships with them.
It really blurs the lines, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What does it even mean to be a coworker when your coworker is a machine? And it brings up this whole new skill set that managers are going to need, what some people are calling technology EQ.
Okay, so what does that mean, technology EQ?
Basically, it's the ability to empathize not just with your human team members, but also with your AI systems, like being able to understand their limitations, their needs even.
So it's almost like treating the AI as a living being in a way.
Not quite. Yeah. But it's about recognizing that AI has its own kind of personality, its own strengths and weaknesses.
Okay.
For example, if you have an AI-powered chatbot and it keeps giving wrong answers, you need to recognize that it might need more training data. That's a form of empathy for the system.
That's an interesting way to think about it. So humans are adapting to AI, but AI is also subtly influencing human behavior and company culture. It's a two-way street.
Absolutely. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about safety protocols, which are obviously super important when you've got physical robots working alongside humans.
Yeah, because a malfunctioning robot could cause some serious damage.
And this is where we can learn from how we approach traditional workplace safety. We have fire drills, safety regulations for machinery, all that stuff. We need the same kind of comprehensive safety protocols for robots and AI.
Makes sense. So what kind of specific protocols are we talking about?
One of the most important things is a kill switch, a way to instantly shut down a robot or AI system if it starts acting up or behaving in a way that could be dangerous.
Right.
Imagine a factory robot that suddenly goes off course and moves outside its designated area. You need to be able to shut it down immediately to prevent an accident.
Okay, so that makes sense for a physical robot. But what about AI that exists only in software, like an algorithmic trading platform or a medical diagnosis system? Do those need kill switches too?
Absolutely. Even though it's not a physical button, the principle is the same. You need a way to stop the system in its tracks if it's doing something harmful. Imagine an AI trading platform that starts making crazy trades because of a glitch, or an AI medical system that gives out wrong diagnoses. In those cases, the kill switch would be a software command that shuts the system down immediately.
It's almost like hitting the emergency stop button on a runaway train.
Exactly. And this whole idea of AI fire drills is gaining traction too. It's about simulating different error scenarios to make sure everyone knows how to react if something goes wrong. And get this, there are now actual kill switch engineers, people whose job is to monitor AI systems and be ready to shut them down if necessary.
That's wild, like a whole new job title dedicated to AI safety.
It shows you how seriously people are taking this.
Yeah.
And it's not just about having a kill switch, it's about knowing when to use it. There need to be clear guidelines and criteria for activating the kill switch.
So what kind of criteria would trigger a shutdown?
Could be a lot of things. If the robot starts moving too fast, or the AI model gives an output that's totally out of bounds,
Okay.
or if the robot's self-diagnostic checks fail, that's a bad sign. And of course, if a human supervisor sees something wrong, they need to be able to shut things down immediately. And every time a kill switch is used, there needs to be a thorough investigation afterward. It's like a post-mortem for the AI.
Yeah, so you can figure out what went wrong and prevent it from happening again. It's all about continuous improvement. But we also need to talk about the elephant in the room, cybersecurity. Any technology that's connected to a network is vulnerable to attacks, and AI and robots are no exception.
Unfortunately, you're absolutely right. And the scary thing is they present some unique vulnerabilities. Researchers have actually shown that it's possible to hack into industrial robots and make them move in ways they're not supposed to.
That's terrifying. Imagine a robot on a factory floor suddenly going rogue.
Right. And there was another study that showed how hackers could secretly inject tiny defects into products being made by 3D printing robots just by messing with the digital instructions.
That's crazy. So you wouldn't even know the product was compromised until it failed.
Exactly. It's a whole new level of sabotage. And we need to think about two main categories of threats here: overt sabotage and covert undermining. Overt sabotage is the more obvious stuff, like causing a robot to malfunction or disrupt operations in a way that's easy to see. Covert undermining is more subtle, like secretly degrading product quality or manipulating AI decision-making for malicious purposes.
So it's like the difference between smashing a window and planting a virus.
A good analogy. And to combat these threats, we need to get serious about authentication and access control for all AI and robotic systems. That means strong passwords, multi-factor authentication, and making sure the robot and AI networks are isolated from the rest of the company's IT infrastructure.
So basically building a digital wall around them.
Pretty much. And we also need to start doing regular security audits and penetration testing specifically for robots and AI. That means actively trying to find vulnerabilities before the bad guys do.
It's like a controlled attack to see where the weak spots are.
Exactly. And then any weaknesses that are found need to be fixed immediately. And sometimes that means working closely with the robot and AI vendors to get those patches in place. A lot of older industrial robots weren't designed with cybersecurity in mind. so it can be tricky to retrofit them with the latest security measures.
So it's kind of like playing catch up in a way.
Yeah. And perhaps most importantly, we need to make sure everyone who works with these systems is trained in cybersecurity best practices specifically related to robots and AI. Don't plug in random USB drives into robot controllers, things like that.
Yeah. The human element is always going to be a factor no matter how secure the technology is.
Absolutely.
Mm.
We need to treat cybersecurity for robots and AI just as seriously as we treat physical safety.
Okay, so let's say despite all our precautions, something does go wrong. A robot breaks down or an AI system crashes. How do we make sure business keeps running smoothly?
That's where business continuity planning comes in. And we need to think about it differently now that AI and robots are such a big part of many companies' operations. Traditional continuity plans usually focus on things like power outages or natural disasters. But now we need to account for robot and AI outages too.
So it's like expanding the definition of a disaster to include technological failures.
Exactly. And one of the best ways to prepare for these outages is to build in redundancy. Just like critical IT systems have backups, so should robots and AI. That could mean having a spare robot ready to go or a secondary AI model that can take over if the primary one fails.
Makes sense. But what about AI that's more of a service or a platform? How do you have a backup for something like that?
Well, you could deploy those services across multiple data centers in different locations. That way, if one goes down, the others can keep running. Or you could have a backup AI model that maybe isn't as sophisticated, but can still handle the essentials.
So it's about having a fallback plan that keeps things running even if it's not at full capacity.
And it's also important to think about how humans can step in and take over if a robot or AI system goes down. Cross-training staff to perform those tasks manually is crucial. It's like airline pilots. They're trained to fly manually, even though they mostly rely on autopilot.
So it's about having a human safety net in case the technology fails.
Exactly. And companies should have detailed AI down procedures that outline exactly what to do when an AI system fails. If a chatbot goes down, there should be a protocol for routing those customer inquiries to human agents.
So it's not about trying to keep everything running perfectly. It's about managing the slowdown and keeping essential services going.
You got it. And for AI systems, data continuity is a big deal too. If an AI loses access to live data, can it still function using cached or historical data?
Mm.
Like a self-driving car that loses its internet connection can still use its onboard maps to navigate.
So it's about building in some level of autonomy, even for systems that are usually connected to a network.
And of course, testing these business continuity plans regularly is super important. You need to run simulations of different outage scenarios to see how things would actually play out.
Practice makes perfect, as they say.
Exactly. And if you're relying on third-party AI services or cloud-based robotics platforms, you need to factor those into your continuity plan too. What happens if those services go down? Do you have alternative providers? Do your contracts include service level agreements and data escrow provisions to protect your information? Downtime for AI can be super expensive, so it's crucial to plan ahead.
It all comes back to proactive planning, minimizing potential disruptions.
Couldn't agree more. Now let's talk about the practical challenges of bringing all these different robots and AI systems together. Most companies will end up using a mix of technologies from different vendors, and that can create some headaches when it comes to integration and maintenance.
Yeah, trying to get all those systems to talk to each other can be a nightmare.
Totally. And that's why interoperability standards are so important. The Mass Robotics AMR interoperability standard is a good example. It allows autonomous mobile robots from different manufacturers to share basic information like their location and capabilities without having to reveal their proprietary map data.
So it's like a common language that robots from different companies can use to understand each other.
Exactly. And a lot of companies are using what's called middleware to bridge the gap between these different systems. Platforms like Formant and InOrbit can take in data from all sorts of different robots, and AI systems normalize it and present it in a unified dashboard. So instead of having to deal with a bunch of different interfaces, you can manage everything from one central location.
That makes so much sense. It streamlines everything.
Totally. Now let's talk about maintenance. Keeping all these robots and AI systems running smoothly is a whole other challenge. It's not just about oiling the gears anymore.
Yeah, I imagine it's a lot more complex than that.
It definitely is. We're talking about cleaning sensors, calibrating robotic arms, making sure everything is aligned and connected properly. Even something as simple as dust can cause problems.
So it's really about attention to detail.
A lot of the newer robots have built-in self-monitoring systems that can alert you to potential problems early on. And there's also a lot of work being done with real-time performance monitoring and predictive analytics. Sensors can detect things like subtle vibrations that might indicate a bearing is wearing out. The goal is to fix these problems before they cause a major breakdown.
So it's like taking your car in for regular checkups to prevent bigger problems down the road.
Perfect analogy. Companies need to start thinking of maintenance as a key part of their AI and robotics strategy, not just something they do when something breaks.
It all comes back to being proactive and having a holistic view. Now, as we wrap things up, let's go back to the human element. We've talked a lot about the technical side of AI and robotics, but it's important to remember that these are tools meant to help humans. What's your final take on the role of humans in this increasingly automated world?
You know the whole Tesla situation where Elon Musk realized they went too far with automation? That's a really important lesson. It shows that human skills like adaptability, creativity, and the ability to handle complex situations are still incredibly valuable.
We can't underestimate the human touch.
AI and robots should be seen as augmenting human workers, not replacing them. And there's a ton of research happening right now on how to optimize human AI and human robot interactions. It's a really exciting area.
It feels like we're still just scratching the surface of what's possible.
We are. And a lot of experts are saying we need to start preparing for a future where robots and AI play even bigger roles in organizations. We might see robots on office teams or even in leadership positions.
Well, that's pretty mind-blowing.
It is. But it all comes back to those 6 principles we talked about earlier: addition, relevance, substitution, diversity, collaboration, and explanation. The key is to use AI in a way that complements and enhances human abilities. The most successful teams will be the ones that can combine the best of both worlds: human intelligence and artificial intelligence.
So it's not about humans versus AI, it's about humans and AI working together.
And that brings us to a final question for our listeners. As AI and robots become more and more integrated into our work lives, what skills and perspectives do we need to develop to not just survive, but thrive in this new world?
That's something to really think about. How do we prepare ourselves for the future of work? It's a question with no easy answers, but it's one we all need to be asking ourselves.
Absolutely. And I'd encourage everyone to keep learning about these topics. We've only scratched the surface today, and there's a ton of great information out there.
Go check out the sources we mentioned in this episode. There's a lot of really thought-provoking stuff to dig into. Thanks for joining us.